Hello, everybody. Hello, hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Just waiting for the stream to start here on the other platforms. But hello, everybody. Welcome back to the David Trick Show, Trick Podcast of Joy. On this afternoon, it's almost, I guess it is 6 p.m. Pacific time here from the LA area, Long Beach, California. Hello. Hope that you are maybe wrapping up your day. Perhaps you're still at work. Maybe you're home getting dinner ready for the kids. Or if you're a young person, single, you're in the middle of laundry or doing homework or still at work. Whatever you may be doing, welcome back. Thank you for being here. Thanks for being back here. Welcome back to my video. Welcome back to my channel. I was thinking about the future of the internet and of media and things like that. As you know, I'm really involved and interested. Excuse me, I'm going to sneeze. I'm really interested in media, and especially when it comes to, I don't know, I guess getting the message, in my case, obviously, of God, of love, of hope, out to the masses, and kind of thinking about the future of, as I said, media, I think is 24-hour coverage. You may have just heard that at 7 p.m. Paris time, the church at Notre Dame, went up in flames, and the iconic steeple literally fell. I was just watching the video just a few minutes ago. It literally fell because of the fire. And I don't know if it was an arsonage or if it was an accident. It doesn't seem to have been any sort of terrorist attack. So thank you, God, for that. But I mean, I saw these young men and women just looking up at the church with just grief in their eyes. I was just thinking, these young men, maybe they're in their 20s. They've seen this. I mean, this cathedral is 850 years old. 850 years old. That is 4 times the age of the U.S., 3-4 times. 850 years old, that cathedral has been there, and it just went down in flames. It's still burning. I think the fire has been contained, but, this is a tragic, tragic moment for really the world. That cathedral has been, iconicized in many movies. The Hunch of Notre Dame obviously comes from that, or that whole movie comes from that cathedral. It's iconic. It's an icon of religion, an icon of culture. I think it's one of the most visited buildings in Paris. Obviously, the Eiffel Tower and the Louvre, but the church at Notre Dame. What a tragedy. But here's my point. When things like this happen, we obviously go to CNN or Twitter or whatever to watch these news live. And if you think about what all of us like to consume, we'd like to consume things as they happen. And so now, on a much lighter note, you may, if you're an 80s kid like me, remember Pauly Shore. Hey, dude. I forget what else he did. I really wasn't huge into him except for his name. Too much of a drug guy for me back in those days. So, but I think he's my age now. He's, I think, in his late 40s, early 50s. And now he started a podcast like everyone else, especially comedians. And the podcast, though, is different than most. It's on video like most these days. If you haven't checked that out, you may want to check out. Most podcasts now are like this one. They're on video, not just on audio. They're both. But his podcast is very unique in that it's just him. There are no guests. There is no interview, which is really more of what's happening nowadays. The Joe Rogan podcast, which is #1, is mostly interviews. But for him, well, let me say a few things. If you haven't seen some of these podcasts, you really need to. They're all done not in a TV kind of studio, sterile environment or professional environment. They're all recorded like in someone's house, kind of like Meet Brother meets Survivor meets, CNN. So it's a little bit of everything. It has a little bit of the news and current affairs and things, but it's in a more, like in a house, like here. And that's why my podcast has some of these elements. I've been doing this before that whole thing happened, meaning just here in my office with some of my props and such, my hat, and all that stuff, because I know just by instinct that we have to entertain people and we have to have fun when we're on here. We can't just be like, I don't know, boring, or I mean, yeah. But this thing of 24 hours. So anyway, back to the Pauly Shore podcast. He has like 5 cameras set around his apartment here in LA somewhere. I think in Silver Lake or Huntington Park. I mean, Highland Park. And he just walks around his messy apartment with junk everywhere. He has a topollillo, which I love from my childhood. He has his bike there next to his round kitchen table. He has dishes in his sink. I mean, it's so Pauly Shore, but really it's so life, right? I mean, I have dirty dishes in my sink, and I mean, it's just life. And so he talks for like an hour. So it's not 24/7, but I'm telling you, if it was 24/7, I probably would watch, I don't know, at least check in once to 2, 3, 4 times a day, just even if it's for a minute or two. He has, of course, thousands and thousands of views. It's not 24/7, it's just for an hour. But for that hour, he's just rambling. And I think the podcast is literally called Shore's Rambles, or Ramblings with Pauly Shore, something like that. You can look it up. And it's just him walking around his apartment in t-shirt and shorts, and he looks like an old guy, and just rambling about, what was he talking about? I have no idea, really. I mean, there was no theme, no guest, no. He has a kid, like a 20-year-old kid, who's in this little closet producing the show. He has an iMac and probably using OBS or one of these softwares that we all use, kind of just switching the cameras. And it's not live. They do pre-recorded, so they must edit it some, but I doubt it. I mean, it's just him walking around. Like, this is probably my favorite camera shot is he's by all the dirty dishes in his sink, and he's just kind of like eating his, I think it was, I don't know, a couple of days ago, he made some eggs with ham and toast for himself and for this kid, his producer. And he's just eating, literally, I mean, just chewing and talking to the camera, and I was just captivated. First, because it's Pauly Shore. So if I do that, I doubt I would have any followers. I mean, I already have like 0 followers, but I wonder if, well, no, I don't wonder. I think he's onto something, because you just think back of Big Brother and Survivor and all of these kind of, the reality TV stuff. I think it does get old, and I must say, after like 30 minutes of watching his little stunt, or maybe watching a couple shows, I kind of got tired of it, because it's just him and it's the same thing. So he may not be quite, I don't know. There might be more that he has to do to this formula, but my guess is that other people will come along, follow that formula of 24-hour, 24/7 kind of live streaming, and I think it'll work. I don't know. I mean, it's his normal life, but I think that I was trying to think about it. Why are we so interested in just normal life? I think, let's see, why was I interested in his life? First, because, yeah, it's Pauly Shore, right? Second, because I think I like the mess. I like to maybe feel that I'm better. So I think it's an element of superiority to, like, well, I'm not that bad, right? Maybe, but then I think once you get through all that kind of judging other people, how at first you judge people, because again, you want to feel better than them in whatever it is. But I think after that, I was drawn in by just how normal and how relevant. I think ultimately it's about how relevant and how similar his life is to mine. He says he lives alone. I sometimes think if I hadn't gotten married to the dream of my life, my wife, I probably would live alone. He doesn't have a pet. He doesn't have pets. I probably wouldn't have dogs either. He likes to eat eggs and ham and toast, and I would too. And of course I do too. And the whole tech thing, and I'm not a comedian, or am I famous? I wasn't on MTV like he was, but I have a life, and I've done things, and I don't know, it just was very appealing. It was one of those things where I thought, wow, that really seems like something that people would watch, like, I wonder if people would be interested in that. So you may want to check that out. It really was hilarious just to follow him around and just kind of, hello, Sarah. It was just kind of hilarious just to listen to him and just watch him walk around. And I thought, well, maybe that's something that people really enjoy. And I think it goes back to the whole, you know, Kardashian, the and what do they call that? Whatever, with the Kardashians. And then if you're into basketball, there's a show by LeVar Ball and all his family. Also, that they're all reality TV type stuff, and it's just amazing. I think that this guy, Pauly Shore, he's onto something with this whole thing. I think that people are interested in seeing your life. Like, show me your mess. Show me your life. Show me, no matter how normal or how boring or even how messy your life is, like, I want to see it. And as I said, probably for all kinds of reasons, to maybe feel better, to compare, to not feel so bad, to realize that we're all really the same. I mean, you know how it is when, I know I do this with Rochelle, when we're walking around the neighborhood and you go to other people's, or you don't even go into people's homes, you're just walking around, you know? What do you tend to do when you're walking around and you're seeing homes of the people that live next to you? You compare, right? You're like, oh, their yard is better than mine. Or I know I see people doing this with our house whenever they walk by our home and my garage is open because, you know, we have our instruments or gym or cars, you know, whatever. People like to look into people's garages, right? I think this whole reality TV, it's not reality TV, but, you know, this whole thing that Pauly Shore is doing of this 24/7 internet stuff, I think that it kind of taps into that same thing of, we want to know that your life is just like ours, that your life is just like mine. I think we're all maybe in this internet age, and with all the loneliness and depression and all the feelings of isolation that we all feel, I wonder if we are longing to just know what other people are into. I don't think it's bad, and I think it can be dangerous. I mean, I was just thinking about this guy, Pauly Shore, and I thought, well, if people know where he lives, then, I mean, he was famous, right? And he's made movies. I don't know which ones, but MTV, of course, being the main thing I remember. But anyway, I thought it could be dangerous for someone like him, but even for someone like you and me, right? I mean, if you show everything where you live in your house, and what if by mistake you show, I don't know, your ID or anything like that, and it's on the internet forever, right? I mean, it could be dangerous because privacy and security is a big deal. But then, is it really? I mean, we put all of our info all over the internet. I mean, Amazon has everything. You everything on you. I mean, all these cameras that are always on, even if you don't turn them on. I mean, your phone. You've seen those movies where some, I don't know, random techie person and that works for the CIA can turn on all our cameras and spy on us. Even if that's not true, the point is that, are we really that worried about security? I don't think so. I mean, I've had my identity stolen, and I've lost my, you know, like my ID, my wallet, and in a matter of, I don't know, couple of hours, I have everything back, right? I mean, there's a whole system around that whole thing. I mean, remember when Facebook sold all of your information? I'm not on Facebook anymore. I'm not on anything. I just put the show out there, but I don't even know what's going on that side. But you know how, like, when you put your stuff out there, like, remember when Facebook had, you know, sold all of your information to some place in London, Carnegie something or the other? I mean, you know, you think of all these platforms, right? Instagram or Twitch or whatever it may be, YouTube. They have so much information on all of us. I mean, how safe are we? I mean, really, right? How safe are we? It seems like we're all comfortable just putting everything. That's why I stopped browsing or I don't post anything. I mean, if you look at all of my media things, it's just this show, but I don't have anything anymore that I put in terms of my life or thoughts or quotes, nothing, zero. And I feel great. And, you know, as someone said, it's not so much the putting of content that I'm against. I think that it's great to put content, especially content that is going to help people. I think it's the browsing, you know, that I think is that's what I've stopped, like 100%. Like I don't know what anyone's doing, and I feel amazing. Like literally, when I go, the only thing that I do is post these videos to try to help people and coach and of course spiritual things, music and etc. But the idea of 24/7 live internet, I think, is really interesting because, I mean, as I said, with this whole thing that happened in Paris today, I mean, the burning of this 835-year-old cathedral, Notre Dame. I mean, how tragic. Imagine if there were no phones and no one could see this tragedy that's happening literally right now as we speak on the other part of the world, in the other part of the world. We couldn't see anything. So why not have our lives online 24/7 and get rid of all this? I mean, Pauly Shore certainly has gotten rid of all this stuff about, oh, my house is a mess or there are dishes in the sink. I mean, he doesn't care. And I mean, his bed is messy. I was watching this one part where his bed was just a mess. And it's I hate using the word real or authentic, but I mean, it's just normal life. It's normal life. And people are, I mean, certainly thousands and thousands of fans, at least for him, are into it because they, I don't know, as I said, I think people want to know that you're normal. I mean, isn't that why we all watch each other? It's like to see, you know, do you look like me? Are you normal? Are you as ugly as me? Are you aging like me? Are you looking a little better than me? I mean, I don't know. Maybe you're much more holy than I am, but I don't know if, as I said, I'm so glad that I just bit myself. I'm so glad that I don't really watch anything anymore. Like it's been almost a year of this kind of detox. It's not a detox. I've completely, like an alcoholic, I've what do you call it? Recovered? Is that what it's called? Like a recovery program. But as far as videos that I watch on YouTube, I do watch a lot of, especially music YouTube, and a lot of podcasts also that are on YouTube. What I like most is just the normalness of these podcasts, meaning the video podcasts. As I said, they're just on a table, sometimes with, actually, I would say they intentionally just have a bunch of junk everywhere. You know, just like me, you know, I have here, if you're seeing my set, you're not seeing the whole thing, but, you know, I have the burro back there and that guy with the mustache and the hat and my Goso cup. Sometimes I have my hat and I have it right now, but all that stuff is just to entertain you. It's to draw you in and for you to see my normal life. Even when I talk, you know, these things that I do, again, you know, I have 0 followers. I have like 0 nothing, but it doesn't matter to me because I feel like it's a way to just be me. But my point with that was that even when I come on, I used to feel like I had to have some guest or some, I don't know, some topic. And I mean, sure, maybe half of all this is just rambling, but isn't this what we normally would do if we were talking on the phone? Or I think, meaning just ramble, I think because of texting and all this DM, I don't have any of that, which I'm so glad. I mean, I text, but, you know, I don't have DMs, whatever. And it's fine if you do. I'm just telling you kind of what I've done. But what was I saying? I think in this age of pictures and images and all of these like virtual ways to put yourself out there and to be liked, I think we are all dying for even for a video connection. Being that, I mean, you know, I go to church obviously, but I wonder if I didn't have church, where would I see people? Like, I mean, if you work, I mean, I guess if you go to school, you see people, right? If you're like in high school, but then in college and all the rest, I mean, I did all that stuff. I wasn't like hanging out with those people. I'm a very social person, but my point is, if you work or if you're home, besides all that stuff, when do you connect with people? Online, right? I mean, dating is online, shopping, buying food, entertainment. I mean, evil, bad, horrible things. It's all here. And the speed of these internet connections are super fast. And I think the thing that I grieve the most is all this like stuff. You know, like I'll see people come in and out of my streams, and if they see that nobody's here, like it's 0, You know, like people immediately feel weird. I know I used to. As I said, I never watch anything anymore, but I think that's the thing I grieve the most. I wish all the numbers were gone. I wish when you were to watch me or I was to watch somebody, I wouldn't know if one or 10 or 1,000 people are watching. I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean, this is a one-on-one conversation. Imagine if in real life you and I were talking, but then first you're looking around to see if who else is watching. And if nobody else is watching, then you leave. I mean, no one would do that. But these horrible platforms with all these numbers, all these statistics that are so unhuman and enforced and really most of the time are not even real, have ruined the just a simple interaction. Now, am I talking normally now? Meaning, or is this different than the way I would talk to you if it was one-on-one? I don't think so. I mean, I probably wouldn't choose to talk to everybody, you know, quote, my friends, meaning because, you know, when you call someone, it's because you have something to say to them, right? So, I mean, there is kind of this randomness to all this stuff. And so maybe that's why we still fall into that one of the, you know, the reason why people leave whenever there's nobody here watching is because of what's called social proof, which is one of the 7 laws of psychology. And, you know, I have this book, I have it here, that it's just so sad how manipulative really, I guess, marketing or all these platforms are. The reason why they put the zeros and how many eyes are on this show or how many hearts is because we're like a rat. We're trained psychologically with this law called social proof that if it's like the whole thing of we don't want to be where the losers are. You don't want to hang out with losers. You know, I hate that word, but I'm just using it for the sake of this thought, of this argument. If we feel like something is only where losers are, then we don't want to be the only loser. Even if we really like whatever we're watching, you might like this show, you might like what other people do, but if it feels like only losers are there, meaning nobody's there and you're the only one, then you feel like a loser. And yet it's such a weird thing. I mean, isn't a one-on-one relationship and connection like the best thing ever? Isn't that a wonderful thing? Wouldn't you want to be talking to somebody one-on-one if, like, I don't know, who do I admire? Obama, you know, if he was on here and if it was just he and I, you think I would leave because nobody else is watching? And yet that's how these platforms are built, is to make you feel bad if nobody's watching. If you're the only one, you feel like you're a loser. But I mean, I would love to talk to any of these people I admire one-on-one, or if it was just 2 of us. But getting back to the whole thing of 24/7 coverage and the internet, I think that really is the way to go. I would do it. Sure. I would totally do it. I mean, trust me, my wife and kids would not let me do this. I mean, they would throw me out of the house because they're so not like me in this area. None of them. I mean, all 4 of them are super shy, but I am not, and I would totally do it. I would have cameras all over my house, and I probably wouldn't do 24/7 because I think that's a little too much, but I definitely would stream for an hour, you know, when I knew that the cameras were on me, because I think that's very important in case I want to go to the bathroom, or I don't know, if I want to just leave, you know, go outside and not be on camera. But I would totally do it for like an hour, knowing that the cameras are on, and I would just walk around the house and just show you my life, like my normal, boring, monotonous life. And I think you would watch, because I think, as I said, it would make you feel normal about yourself. And again, you know, there's no like fame here, you know, like Pauly Shore is somewhat famous, right? But I think if we were to do this 24/7 live streaming, or maybe even for an hour, I think that people would watch. I think that people would be into seeing what the heck, you know, is this? And I think it would get rid of all this stigma of numbers and how many views and who's on and all this ugliness of social proof, as they call it. And it's just so so unhuman. And I think to actually watch somebody's life, just normal life, the messy kitchen and the bed that's a mess, her socks on the floor, I think at first maybe it makes both of us feel uncomfortable. Like you would feel like, ooh, who is this guy? And I may feel like, oh no, I can't believe I'm showing you my dirty laundry. But I think as all that kind of is removed, then we would feel like, oh wow, you're just a human being, just like me. You know, as a spiritual leader, one of the best moments for me with, let's say, someone at church is when I am angry, or when I get upset, or when I will just talk normal. And normally I do this with people that are like my age or older, people that aren't gonna, I don't know, judge me really. But I have this one friend, and he'll often say to me, which is the biggest compliment, he says, "You're just an average guy." And I tell him, I am so glad to hear you say that. And I think, isn't that what we all long for? I mean, isn't that the number one level? I read a lot of psychology, books on psychology, and I think the number one level of connection, or the number one way to connect with someone, is not charm, it's not beauty, it's not wisdom. You know what it is what they call Me Too. And I don't mean it like the movement, you know, about harassment in the workplace, which is very important. But I'm talking about you being on here, let's say, and having people say of you, you know what, me too. Meaning you're just like me. I also struggle with that. Or I also leave my bed a mess. I don't. My bed is right here. But I mean, how liberating, how freeing it would be to have all of us just post normal things. How liberating it would be to get rid of the masks of the internet and of the Instagram models and of the millions of views, and PewDiePie having 10 million this, and Casey Neistat having his incredibly perfect videos that look so normal, and yet they're not normal, right? And now, is there no room for talent? Of course there is. I mean, if I get up here and I play my guitar, I mean, you may be impressed, you may not. I mean, just like in normal life, right? So it's not that we're trying to dumb down the internet. I think it's like basketball or any sport. There's still great athletes that are better than you and me, right? And we admire them because they're better than us. And so the same thing happens online. There are people that are just better at this than others. I'm not very good at it, but I don't really care, because I know that to communicate through these means is the only way forward. It's the only way that we're going to have any traction to whatever your cause is. And I think that really the idea of being online 24/7 is really very, very insightful. And I think it is the way to go because of the same thing, because it's not about having this perfect piece of content, and it's about just sharing life together. I mean, you think of a marriage, you think of any relationship that lasts. What makes Rochelle and I last, 25 years this summer, hasn't been trips to Disneyland and Hawaii. We've done both things a few times. It's the normalness of our lives in harmony, of course. I mean, it's not like normal life and you hate each other and you are fighting all the time. Of course, that's not going to last. But it's normal life in love, in relationship in the day-to-day life. I mean, that's to me the formula for success and for longevity, is an ongoing relationship with a normal human being just like you, that you really love, you really care for. And when it comes to like the internet, I read all these things and watch videos on how to connect with people, and I don't feel like I am one of those charming people in person or online. Like people, I often feel like I'm just not very relatable. I don't think very relatably, if that's a word. So I often feel like I don't connect, and that's probably my biggest, I don't know, fault or whatever you call it. But I keep trying to connect with people. I keep trying to just take the mask off. I think if anything, the internet is such it harms relationships because no one wants to be around, as I said, a losing team. No one wants to be around some guy like me who nobody watches. You don't want to be that guy, right? You want to be with where all the cool kids are. In high school, I was never that way. In high school, I mean, I don't know. I hope this is not too presumptuous, but I was with the cool kids. And so my point is not even that. I probably was just some guy. But here's what I mean to say. I didn't care to be around the cool guys. But I guess we all do, right, to some degree. And maybe that's this whole thing of social proof as well. I only want to be around live streams or videos that have lots of people. It's, or maybe it's just that we're so distracted, right? Or maybe, I don't know, we're just boring, like that's why this whole idea of just breaking things down, I think, is so enticing to me. Excuse me. Because you can only, I don't think I ever tried to, but maybe you can only try to impress people for so long. I mean, back to dating. How long is that going to last? You trying to take a shower every time you go on a date and smell good and have your hair be perfect? I mean, if this is going to last, you're going to eventually look nasty and your girl is going to still love you, hopefully, right? And vice versa. Any relationship with God, at work, with your girl, with whoever you love. I mean, obviously your kids, but if you have children. But I think this whole idea of perfection and online stuff is really horrible. I think that's the thing that I've always hated the most about these online tools is this thing about perfection. And maybe it's us. Maybe I'm the problem, right? Maybe that's what I am thinking, and maybe that's what I'm getting as a result. So, and that's why I am here. Nobody's watching, literally, and all these things. No comments. No, it doesn't matter to me. It just really doesn't matter. In fact, I never look at numbers. I mean, they're zero when I look at them, but it used to really bother me a lot. And people still think, people say to me, oh, I'm sorry, nobody's watching. I'm like, it used to bother me a lot. That's why I quit. Not this last time. This time, as I said, it's more like not a detox. It's a recovery. But before that, I would quit or detox for a week or a month because of just my ego, basically, was just so hurt. But now it just doesn't matter to me. It's just not something that I think about. In fact, I was looking here for a piece of tape that I would often use. I just want to show you. I mean, it's just simply whatever they call this, painter's tape. But I would use just regular, whatever they call this. It's not masking tape, is it? Painter's tape. And I would just put, just like this, a little sticker. I did it right there on the numbers, just to not have my ego be bruised. I don't do that anymore because I would say I'm rid of that like 99%, 98, 99%. It's that whole energy is out of me. But when I was starting and I had the same quote results of zero this and zero that and blah, 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 I would just get rid of those. I would put a tape over the numbers. Even on my phone, I would do the same thing because I would notice that when the number wasn't staring, that zero wasn't staring at me, I would just feel normal, like a human being. And when that number's there, I would feel like a robot. I would feel like I was chained down by some machine, like some sort of matrix or something. You know what I'm talking about? And I think that is damaging to human relationships. I mean, how many times have I felt like when someone meets me, they're thinking of my lack of fame online or even in real life, and they think less of me. They put me down with their minds. I mean, I had this guy just recently, about, I don't know, a month ago, kind of a top guy in this whole thing. And he kept talking down to me because I have small numbers, because of my numbers. I could just tell his energy was a condescending energy. Whereas if I had had millions of this and millions of that, he'd probably be like looking up to me like, oh, wow, I want to be like you. Just because of numbers, just because of some random algorithm and blah, blah, blah. Now, if I'm a loser, then even then, who cares? I'm still a human being. I mean, as I said, I hate that word, but my point is this. If you're just a normal person and you have nobody, quote, following you, or even if you just simply love your dog or you love your grandkids, doesn't that matter before God and others? Of course that matters. My grandmother had no Instagram account or followers, and yet she changed my life and the lives of thousands of people, I would say. So, but at the same time, going back to the whole 24/7 thing, I do think that that is a way forward. Why? That's what I started with a while back here. I've been doing this now for 35 minutes because it's normal life. It's normal life. And so I'm not going to do that here at home because, as I said, I think I would get put in the garage like forever. My family, there's no way that would let me set up cameras around the house. But I'm going to try to figure out a way to do that somehow, somewhere. I don't know how, but somehow I'm going to try to just be normal and let that be the, I don't know, just like the way forward. And just try it for the next 25 years. I mean, as long as we have these computers and all these phones and all this stuff, and you're here and maybe you're watching this after the fact, maybe it's one person, it doesn't matter to me. But I know that at some point, something good will come out of all this. So anyway, with that said, thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.